Today we are going to cover section 1 in chapter 3. We are going to talk about pairs of lines and angles. Essentially we're going to be able to tell the difference between parallel and perpendicular lines and skew lines, and then the different types of angles and angle pairs that are formed when transversals intersect pairs of lines. To start off with, let's define parallel lines. Parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. Key word is they're going to be coplanar and they do not intersect. Skew lines are non-coplanar lines that do not intersect. And lastly, parallel planes are going to be planes that do not intersect. Okay. So looking at this graphic, we can come up with several lines that would be parallel to AB. For example, EF would be parallel to AB. GH would also be parallel to AB. And then CD would be parallel to AB as well. This time, let's look at BC. BC would be parallel with AD. BC would also be parallel with FG. And lastly, BC would be parallel with EH. We could keep going and come up with several more sets of parallel lines, but let's move on to skew lines. Looking back at AB, if we look at AB, we want to find lines that are not parallel, that are not on the same plane and do not intersect. So if we look at AB, we could see that EH, HD, and then FG and GC are not on the plane with AB. They do not intersect AB, and they are also not parallel. So AB and EH, AB and FG, AB and HD, and then AB and GC. Again, there are several more sets of skew lines that we could go through, but for the sake of simplicity and time, let's move on to parallel planes. If we look at plane ABC, that is going to be the bottom plane. It will be parallel to the top plane, which is plane EFG. The left plane, plane ABF, will be parallel to the right one, which is plane HGC. And lastly, the back, or plane BFG, will be parallel to plane to the front, which is AEH. Okay? These are just some examples. Next, we're going to use this figure, and we want to classify each set of the pairs of line segments as parallel, intersecting, coincident or skew. Remember, parallel lines are lines that are not on the same plane, are on the same plane. Parallel lines are on the same plane, but do not intersect. Intersecting lines are lines that meet at least one point. And skew lines are non-coplanar lines that do not intersect. The new term is going to be coincident. Coincidental lines are the same lines. It's one line on top of the other. So coincidental lines are going to happen when we have the very same thing that we can name two different ways. So go ahead and pause the video, work this out, and then come back and we'll go over it. Welcome back. I hope that your answers look similar to mine. The only one I'm going to go over is C. C says to take a look at E, I, and then I, H. EI and IH describe the same line. Because of this, EI lies on top of IH, so we will call them coincidental lines. On to the next one. So, I want you to give it a shot. We have, let me move that. Okay, we have a line and a point. I want you to try to draw a line that is parallel to the line that I have drawn for you and goes through our point. Go ahead and pause the video and we'll come back and talk about it. Okay. You should have only been able to draw one exact line that is parallel, exactly parallel to our original line and passes through our point. Okay. Now, go ahead and try that with perpendicular. See if you can draw a line that is perpendicular to our first line and goes through our point. Go ahead and pause and give that a try. Okay. You should have only found exactly one line that can be drawn through our point that would be perfectly perpendicular with our original line. The parallel postulate and the perpendicular postulate say exactly that. When we have a line and a point that is not on the line, then there is exactly one line through that point that will be parallel or perpendicular to the given line. Okay. We want to name a line that is parallel to GH and contains point F. A line parallel to GH and containing F would be line EF, right here. If we want one that is skew to GH and containing F, we would look for BF. BF. Lastly, a line that is perpendicular to GH and going through F would be GF. If I was looking at plane GHD, and I wanted to find a plane parallel to it and containing point F, that plane would be plane ABF. And then lastly, I want a line that is going to be parallel to FG and contain point I. I can name this line EH or line EI or line IH. All three names would talk about the same line. Okay, so when we have two distinct lines in the same plane, they will either be parallel, like lines M and N, or intersect at a point like lines J and K. So, line K would be perpendicular to line M, and line K would be perpendicular to line N. Okay. Whole bunch of vocabulary. Transversals. Transversals are lines that intersect two or more lines at different points. Corresponding angles are going to have the same or corresponding positions. Alternate interior angles are angles that are between two lines on opposite sides of the transversal. Alternate exterior angles are angles that lie outside the two lines and are on opposite sides of the transversal. Consecutive interior angles are angles that are between the two lines and on the same side of the transversal. Consecutive exterior angles are angles that lie outside the two lines on the same side of the transversal. That's a whole bunch of words, but let's look at some diagrams and see if we can't figure it out. Which would be the transversal? The transversal would be line C. Corresponding angles are going to sit in the same position. If we look at where one sits in this cross, its corresponding angle would sit in the same position at the other intersection. So that means angle 1 and angle 5 would be corresponding angles. Angle 2 would correspond with angle 6. Angle 3 would correspond with angle 7. And then angle 4 would correspond with angle 8. Okay. Interior is going to be on the inside of our two lines. Alternate is going to switch sides of the transversal. So if we look on the inside, but on opposite sides of our transversal, we would see that angle 3 would match angle 6, and then angle 4 would go with angle 5. Now if we look at the consecutive, or the same side, that means 3 would go with 5. Angle 3 with angle 5, and angle 4 would go with angle 6. Now let's look at the exterior angles. Those are going to be the ones on the outside of our two lines. We said alternate is on opposite sides. So angle 1 on the outside and switch sides with the transversal on the outside would go with angle 8, leaving angle 2 with angle 7. Lastly, let's do the consecutive exterior. So this is going to be on the same side but still on the outside. So angle 1 would match angle 7, and angle 2 would match angle 8. Okay. I want you to try this one. Go ahead and give it a shot. Even though our diagram here has been turned, it's perfectly okay. It works the same way. Go ahead and pause the video, give this a shot, and then we will move right along. Welcome back. You can check your answers on this when you are done with the video with the PDF in Google Classroom, but I'm not going to go over this right now because I want you to give it a shot. Okay, lastly, example 5. We are going to use this orange rectangle to cover one set at a time so we can work with the other two. I'm going to show you how to do this, and then I'm going to let you have a shot. I'm going to cover the top set. You can use a sticky note. That works perfectly well. The corresponding angles here would then be left as 1 and 9, 2 and 10, 4 and 12, and 3 and 11. Now that's not all of them because you still have to cover the other two intersections and then work through all of these again. But I'm going to show you how to do the first set. Alternate interior. We're going to be on this inside on opposite sides. So 4 and 9, and then 3 and 10. Alternate exterior would be 2 and 11, and 1 and 12. Consecutive interior would be 3 and 9, and then 4 and 10. Consecutive exterior would be 1 and 11, and 2 and 12. So we have just completed the first set on this problem. I'm going to go ahead and move our tab to the left so you can do the next set. So go ahead and pause the video, and when we come back, I'll move the tab again. So welcome back. You should have 4 more sets of corresponding angles, 2 more sets of alternate interior, 2 more alternate exterior, 2 more consecutive exterior, and 2 more consecutive interior. I'm going to move our orange tab one last time. You should get 4 more corresponding and 2 more of each other category, and we will be done for today. So go ahead and pause, finish that, and we'll come back. Okay, welcome back. If you have the notes paper, the last bit of work is the 3.1 practice worksheet. And then this is the homework for this section. Go ahead, give that a shot, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks for watching.